Hello and welcome to the first episode of Into the Wormhole, where we take a look at speculative fiction of all kinds. I'm Dapper Dave.
And I'm Zach.
Yes. Today we're going to be talking about superheroes. By the time this comes out, this will probably either be old news or completely falsified. But as the time of this recording, a recent story is that due to internal politics at Warner Brothers, Christopher Nolan and Zack Snyder might be leaving both the Superman and DC franchises, which in turn might shut down Warner Brothers' plans for a sort of Justice League type movie and a sort of continuity similar to that of the Avengers. And something that we, or at least I, have noticed is a distinct lack of interest. A lot of people actually seem kind of relieved, and so we want to discuss the topic of superhero oversaturation, particularly in movies.
Yes.
Yes. So the first question is, are superheroes oversaturated in media?
Yes. Well, mainly in movies. We've had a ton of movies over the past 5 years.
Longer. This has been going on. I think most people consider X-Men the start of this. Maybe a few people consider Blade.
Yes, part of the maybe we should clarify now that when we're talking about superhero movies, we're talking mainly about not just based on comics, because there's a lot of comic movies that have nothing to do with superheroes. Yes, that's true. There are comics now about superheroes.
We're mostly focusing on the Marvel and DC mainstays,
right?
With possible linkage, also Hellboy, I guess, counts, and Watchmen counts. Kick-Ass kind of counts.
Yes.
So the typical superhero image of the guy in the suit, possibly with the powers, fighting increasingly dangerous criminals.
Yes.
Usually in an urban environment. Because apparently the Midwest can go fuck itself.
Well, hey, they raised Superman. They did something.
They did do something.
Yes.
And they also gave us Man of Steel, which I know you love oh so much. Incidentally, you can see our vlog on Man of Steel if you want to know our opinion of it.
Yes. Anyway, yes, we've had a lot, and the other thing is we've had a lot of the same heroes recently. We've had 2 Hulk films and the Avengers. 2 different Hulk films.
2 different Spider-Man, 2 different X-Men, which are now getting converged.
Well, the X-Men thing doesn't, because the X-Men thing was in the past, so it doesn't really, it's a different team, so technically it's not like they recast any characters, except for casting younger versions of characters we had cast in the future.
Well, except now they're doing the time travel storyline so as to connect because there are discontinuities.
Yes, but there are discontinuities in the comics too.
You know what? Let's for the sake of sanity, let's just ignore the X-Men. Because, dear God,
we made a note beforehand to ignore the X-Men, and we were about to forget it.
Yeah,
so.
X-Men is a topic on their own. Just the amount of
comics,
continuity.
the TV shows, and the movies. No.
Their continuity. I think even Linkara has some joke about how insane X-Men continuity is if you think about it.
For the sake of simplicity, we're talking about superheroes, which includes the X-Men, but we aren't going to use the X-Men as an examples or anything.
But I think we can all agree that there has been too much superhero.
And Fantastic Four, which somehow got a sequel.
Yeah, and now I think they're being brought into the Marvel Universe.
Yes.
And I think something to begin with is how we got to this point of superhero movies being as big as they are and as overdone as they are.
Which isn't to say that we don't like them. Like, the Avengers was cool.
Yeah, no, I like a lot of superhero movies, but at the same time, I'm sort of reaching that point where if they said, well, okay, we're going to not make superhero movies for the next 10 years, I'd be like, okay.
I might agree more with 5 years, but whatever.
Okay, fair point. Well, we've had over 10 years of this.
Okay, fair
So,
enough.
but yeah, 5 years.
Whatever. A break.
Basically, yeah, a break. Some original ideas or some properties that aren't superheroes.
Because Marvel is talking about movies going 4 years out right now.
And also, actually, I think a part of this and a topic we're probably going to have to bring up again at some point, how the movies are affecting the comic book worlds. Because definitely in how Marvel's been marketing it themselves, they've been working very hard to either match the movies or to sort of use the movies as a way to sell books. And I think that's having a negative impact on them. It's having a negative impact on DC.
We aren't getting into DC Comics right now because that's a whole can
Yeah.
of worms in and of itself.
This episode's really going to be just like, and here's a topic we're going to do later, and here's a topic we're going to do later.
Yes, and we'll try not to get into because they're huge cans of worms usually.
With giant wriggly worms that eat people. Anyway, so I think the first thing to discuss is what do we like about superhero movies? Because there are things we do like.
Yes.
To an extent, I think like just we're both superhero fans. Like,
yeah.
I think I'm more from the comics. You're more from like cartoon shows and stuff. Or do you?
Yeah, somewhat.
You read a decent amount of comics.
Yeah. Older. I like the comics. I read comics back before I was kind of 70s to mid 90s in the comics. After the 90s, comics started to get
90s comics, another topic we will bring up at a future date.
Yeah, 90s comics weren't good, but they weren't good in a way that I enjoy.
He worked at a bookstore for a brief period of time, and he actually bought up all the Image comics that they had. Because they had like this massive
Image
backlog.
comic crossovers, and you have not seen shit until you see the Image, until you've seen Image Comics crossover with the X-Men. Oh. Anyway,
we're Image is a whole other bucket of worms. Sort of the rise, fall, and re-rise of Image. But anyway, like I think to an extent, what we like about the superhero movies is we like sort of seeing the characters that we grew up with getting the grand treatment that movies provide.
Yes. Or not, depending on the movie.
Well, even the bad movies attempt to give the somewhat absurdness.
Fantastic Four 2.
They were trying to make that epic. They were clearly trying. They failed.
Green Lantern.
No, again, they tried. They failed. That's not what I'm saying.
Fine. They try. Sometimes they don't try nearly hard enough, but they try.
Well, something, though, that I think has led to the oversaturation is there is a very, even past the origin story, which we'll get into, even past that, there is an archetypal story to every superhero movie of superhero has real-world problem, villain comes along to interrupt real-world problem, superhero and villain battle it out so that they can resolve and deal with real-world problem. And there are a few alterations to that, but it really is sort of... And usually the real-world problem is the girl. I think that's fair to say.
Yes,
Iron Man must beat Villain of the Week so that he can get with Pepper Potts.
Okay, but like, I'm trying to think of an example that's not that, Thor's real-world problem was...
Natalie Portman. And wanting to get back home.
Yes.
To Asgard.
Yes.
Okay, by real-world problem, I mean problem that is not, I must kill bad guy, or fight bad guy.
Yeah.
Only Superman kills the bad guys, apparently.
Oh, we are getting into that. We are not getting into not Superman.
Anyway, so I guess we should start talking about the oversaturation.
Yes.
I think part of it is just there's a very obvious reason superheroes became oversaturated. They're an easy property to pick up, they make tons of money, and they involve not having to spending tons of money on a new idea.
Right.
There's this story that like two people walk into a movie studio with flops. One guy said like, "Well, I took a chance on this new idea that seemed really good, and it's a shame that it went down, but I stand by it." The other guy goes, "Well, I don't know why Candyland the movie didn't do well. All of our focus groups said people like Candyland." And the guy with the new idea gets fired. And
We only have like this year. We only had like 2 superhero movies.
we're gonna have 4.
4. What are the other 2? We got
Wolverine's
Thor.
coming out, and Thor's coming out.
Okay, well, we can't talk about Wolverine because that gets us into X-Men.
I think when the movie comes out, we'll be doing like a vlog review of it again. So we'll probably get to X-Men in that.
But so far, we've had Iron Man 3, which, while it had flaws, was good.
Yeah, I liked it.
And I think box office-wise,
it made a shit ton of money, I think. It's upwards of $400 million in total, which is way more than they spent, I believe.
So you have that, and then you have Man of Steel.
Man of Steel, which has... A lot of people don't like it, but there are a lot of people who do. That seems to get a very mixed reception.
Right.
I don't know how well it's doing right now, but it's probably doing pretty well.
Okay.
I know it made a crap ton of money its first weekend.
Mm.
And Wolverine and
Thor: The Dark World
will be coming out later. But this actually sort of leads into something else I've discussed, or I've discovered. A lot of people, while really excited for Iron Man, there doesn't seem to be that level of excitement for Thor.
And I think that leads into, first, I think we can all agree Iron Man is what really kicked off the Marvel movies.
Yeah, people wanted to see more of the Robert Downey Jr. Iron Man. And I say that because I think if they replaced anyone else to get Iron Man, they wouldn't like him.
At this point, Iron Man is Robert Downey Jr. movie-wise.
Yeah. Although, apparently, Robert Downey Jr. says he'll only reprise the role for the other 2 Avengers movies.
Which is...
And maybe cameos in other movies, but there
here's
will not
another
be
problem about oversaturation of superhero movies. When you get to a certain point with a superhero, you keep it going in comics because they're comics, but in a movie, you need character development. And to do that, you may phase them out of their superhero phase. Which seems to be kind of where the...
That's why, I read this thing, that's why a lot of superhero trilogies, the third part tends to be the one that people don't like as much. Because that's the
one where they really grow out they stop being a superhero.
In particular, Spider-Man 3... First one's about him becoming a superhero. Second one's about him relearning. Well, not even relearning. It's about him learning, okay, here's what it means to be a superhero and here's what I can do with it. And then the third one is, oh, my superhero life's getting in the way of my love life. How will I deal with this? I guess I kind of won't, maybe in Spider-Man 4, which will never happen.
Right.
Well, I assume what you were bringing up is Iron Man 3 kind of, sort of ends the Iron Man thing, and a lot of people are going like, no, it doesn't. They're going to keep it going because that's what people want to see.
But if they do that, they negate Iron Man 3.
Yeah. But although Kevin Feige says they're sticking with it, and the plan is that they're going to bring in Doctor Strange, and he's going to be their new sort of Iron Man character.
What?
I can kind of see it. Because he's the modern day asshole.
The modern day asshole.
He is. I love him. He's one of my favorite Marvel superheroes. But when he got started, he was. That was sort of his character.
He's kind of a jerk. Yeah,
he's the jerk ascending to position of not jerk storyline. Which is sort of what Iron Man was in the movies.
Yes.
And although, they're going to get him in this Iron Man suit for the Avengers, too.
Yeah.
They're gonna figure something out.
Or we can call in Rhodes.
Or Pepper Potts with her fire powers.
Anyway,
I would say though that the thing with Marvel movies, the point I was getting to earlier with the Marvel movies, is that there seems to be an excitement for them, not because of the movies themselves, but because of the impact they will have on continuity. And I feel like that is a situation where people are really tired of the Marvel movies, but they want to see the Marvel movies so that they know how they affect other Marvel movies.
and especially this Thor movie that looks like it's not going to really take place on Earth at all.
Yeah, like, Thor is going to be a weird one because, on the one hand, it's a superhero movie, so people who like superhero movies will be set. But it's really a fantasy movie.
Right.
So if you're not a fan of Lord of the Rings and Thor, you may not like this movie.
Right, because the other Thor movie did base itself in Earth for a fair bit of it.
Although it'll probably take itself less seriously than the Lord of the Rings movies did, because it's Thor and that's what they do.
The Lord of the Rings movies didn't take themselves that seriously.
Okay, they did have Legolas surfing down a flight of stairs. So.
Yeah, and if we add the Hobbit movie into this, then they're completely silly.
I like the Hobbit movie.
Okay, but it was silly. Anyway, sorry.
Hobbit
Don't bring up Lord. I am a huge Tolkien fan. If he brings up Tolkien, I get hugely sidetracked into a pit.
Hobbits, another topic to be discussed at a future date.
They aren't a topic. Unlike your love of the orcs.
Orcs, a topic to be brought up at a future date. But to an extent, this I think is a good thing. I'm happy that we're getting a Guardians of the Galaxy movie coming out because
you like the weird squirrel with the rockets.
Well, yes, I do like Rocket's raccoon.
Oh, he's a raccoon.
Awesome. How can you not like Rocket Raccoon?
Apparently, people who think he's a squirrel can't like Rocket Raccoon.
He's a raccoon with a rocket launcher. How do you beat that? And he has a sidekick named Groot, whose one line is, "I am Groot." He says it everywhere he goes. He's like the Hodor of tree people. Hodor, another topic to be discussed at a future date. You don't even know who Hodor is.
No, I don't.
I'll tell you later.
Okay.
Anyway. We're going to get comments now. You don't know Hodor. Anyway. But my point is, Guardians of the Galaxy, that's a space opera with superheroes. Like, that's probably not going to take place on Earth that much.
So, if it's... But... It should tie in because they're space heroes, and according to the last thing of the Avengers, we have Giant Purple Man coming. Sorry, who's a space villain.
Thanos?
Yes.
Well, Giant Purple Man's Galactus.
He has a helmet to make himself purple.
He's got more purple in his design than Thanos.
Well, not according to the end of Avengers.
What movie did you see?
Same movie you did.
He just has a purple face. The rest of his self is
Purple
not
Man.
Purple. No. Thanos.
Yes. Purple Tin Man.
If anything, he's Deathfucker.
Purple Deathfucker Man.
Purple Deathfucker Man. So is he purple and fucks death, or does he fuck purple death?
I don't know. You're gonna have to cut something here.
I don't think I will.
Great. Okay then.
Anyway, so yeah, Thanos is going to be appearing in Guardians of the Galaxy.
Is that definite?
That's definite.
Oh, okay.
We don't know who's playing Thanos yet, but he will be in Guardians of the Galaxy.
They didn't have someone.
They announced Benicio del Toro was going to play a villain, but I think he turned out to be the Collector and not Thanos.
Oh, okay.
Which, incidentally, that's a weird character to play. That's a weird actor to play the Collector.
Who's the Collector?
The Collector is sort of the concept of the Collector is he's this guy who goes around and he basically he imprisons alien life forms, and like they had
right. He's the Marvel's answer to Brainiac.
pretty much, yeah. Except he's not a robot.
No, but Brainiac's a collector. Okay,
And I'm sure I'm dumbing down the Collector a lot. I'm sure someone's gonna come in and say like the Collector's not Brainiac.
I apologize. I'm just linking it in my
But
mind
yeah,
so I know it.
he's kind of like Brainiac.
When it comes to comics, I'm more DC than Marvel.
And I'm more Marvel than DC, so we balance each other out very well.
So I just like to connect ideas to DC, so I ground it somewhere.
Well, and also Marvel, there was a long period in Marvel comic book history where Marvel was like, okay, how do we beat DC? Let's copy DC. So they have different responses to DC.
Right.
And there a lot of them are very blatant.
And I'm sure that they add their own thing to them, and they aren't just
and also
copies.
as different writers come on, they morphed and became different. But
anyway,
the point is Benicio del Toro. I think
that's
is kind of a weird choice for the Collector.
For what you told me about him, that's
yeah,
weird.
like you sort of picture Benicio del Toro as this very suave and I don't know. I always picture the Collector as sort of like a very scuzzy character. But maybe that's just me. Maybe there are people out there who are who can see a Benicio del Toro Collector. I'm going to, which I think is really the point I'm trying to make here. Is even though I'm a little sick of the Marvel movies and of superhero movies in general, but I'm gonna go see them. Except maybe the Wolverine, because I'm not entirely sure I want to do that again.
We're seeing the Wolverine because it looks awful. It looks like Spider-Man 2.
Well, yeah.
Not saying Spider-Man 2 was awful, but the idea of Wolverine losing his powers is just why. But
yeah, Spider-Man 2 is amazing, but Wolverine in Spider-Man 2, that's just weird.
Anyway, off of the Wolverine, we'll get to that because we're seeing it.
It's like putting Superman in Batman Begins. Oh, wait!
Except Batman didn't kill anyone in Batman Begins.
No, they waited till Dark Knight. He threw Harvey Dent off a roof.
Well, that was kind of accidental anyway.
Yeah, I know. I just like trolling people.
And technically, he didn't save he didn't save Ra's al Ghul.
Raish! Raish versus Ra's. Another topic to be discussed at a future point.
Yes.
I'm just going to name this one Topics to be discussed at a future point.
Yes, this is our never-ending story episode.
Never-ending story.
That's from the book. The book constantly brings up stories that they'll bring back later.
Incidentally, never-ending story. A topic we'll probably be getting into at a future point. I don't know. Is there anything to talk about with never-ending story with us?
The fact that the book is so much more awesome than any of the fucking movies.
The never-ending story. A topic we'll be discussing at a future point. Anyway. But I think like that is a thing. Like, at what point will people stop going to superhero movies? Is another topic I think to.
Well, at what point will they? Because I think we've agreed that Thor probably won't draw that many people.
I'm not entirely sure. I'd say that. I'd say there's not a lot of hype for it, but I think people will still go. On the offhand chance that they have something in there that's going to lead to Avengers 2.
And of course, we all know that the villain somehow is going to be permanently dealt with in Thor.
Yes, because it's Christopher Eccleston. Christopher Eccleston, another topic to be discussed at a future date. Now we're getting into Doctor Who, we're
getting off. We have to get off Doctor Who before a keyword anything gets dropped, and he goes off the rails.
Right. Okay.
Go to our Doctor Who vlog to get an idea of his reactions to certain things in Doctor Who.
Are we talking about the thing that must not be discussed?
Which one? There's like 6.
The episode.
You mean End of Time?
Ah! Okay, I'll kill you later. Anyway, Christopher Eccleston, a topic to be discussed at a later date. Where were we?
We were talking about superhero movies.
Yeah, like, to an extent, if Christopher Nolan and Zack Snyder don't come back, I'm not entirely sure people will go to see new Superman.
When they do another one.
Yeah, when they do another one.
Here's the maybe they can reboot it again because it needs it.
Incidentally, reboots we're going to talk about a little later in the vlog.
Yeah.
What is this?
Podcast.
Okay, this is a podcast.
Yeah, it's not a log. We aren't a starship captain. We don't get audio logs.
Stardate 3:36.
Anyway,
I am here traveling with my partner into the wormhole. We are discussing numerous topics that have nothing to do with what we set out to talk about.
actually, no, we're staying pretty close.
For us, this is very close.
So, yes,
You had
while DC is falling, Marvel is really pulling ahead with what they're doing. It's still oversaturated, but their movies are pulling in money. So
DC and Warner Brothers made tons of money, and that's clearly they got a taste of success, and that's why they've decided to completely fuck everything up now.
yes, they made a bunch of money with Bailman.
I meant with the new...
Oh, Man of Steel?
Yeah, that made a ton of money.
Yes, but... And Bailman made money.
He incidentally has said that if Christopher Nolan doesn't come back, he won't be in Justice League, which was apparently a thing that was going to happen.
Really?
Yeah, he was going to be Batman in Justice League. I don't know how they could pull that off. Like...
how exactly does... Wait, are we supposed to believe that the end of Dark Knight Rises wasn't a hallucination on Alfred's part?
I guess so.
But the boom and the ship and the boom...
I'm more concerned with how in the hell do you keep the level of realism that the Dark Knight trilogy strived so hard for, and then say, oh, and there was also this superpowered alien guy who showed up later on.
Well, he showed up later on.
But think about it this way. Picture the Dirty Harry movies ending with the alien from Aliens showing up.
Dirty Harry would kick the alien's ass. If this is a versus scenario, Dirty Harry could take down the alien.
I think the alien would just get freaked out by the fact that Dirty Harry has no eyes.
He could take out two predators at once.
But like it's
yes,
a weird
thing. You're right.
It doesn't fit. That I think was the central problem with DC's whole idea of basing the reboot around Christopher Nolan's thing. Is that really only works, and I could even debate it doesn't work for Batman.
Right, and here's the other thing. They tried to do a realistic Superman, keyword tried, and it didn't really work realistically.
One could say it was almost as though they snapped their necks over this. Sorry, I'm having way too much fun playing Poke the Bear.
Casada, End of Time.
Oh. You would have found a way to make it worse.
Meanwhile, Casada, another topic we will discuss at a later point.
Yes, oh god, yes, are we? Casada.
But we aren't getting into that now because he's gonna go nuts.
Yeah, alright, I think we're done talking about the practices of the movie. No. What exactly do we want? I think the big question is, do we want superhero movies to disappear for a while, or do we just want other stuff to sort of begin moving in? Because I actually, quite frankly, I'm willing to keep superhero movies so long as other stuff gets made.
Here's the big problem. Right now, this year, well, for some reason, we have a bunch focusing on the White House. I don't know what's up with that, but...
yeah, that's kind of weird. Well, we have 2, at least.
3 if we count G.I. Joe.
Right, G.I. Joe. I forgot about G.I. Joe.
G.I. Joe, then there was...
Thing.
And then then there was the White House movie with Gerard Butler that pretty much seemed to be Die Hard in the White House.
And then there's Roland Emmerich's Channing Tatum and President Obama team up to fight
Jamie
terrorists.
Foxx.
He's playing President Obama.
Okay. Who loses a rocket launcher. I can't believe how many times it's been hammered to my head from the fucking trailer.
White House attack movies, a topic we're probably not going to discuss at a future date. We don't care.
It's just something but here's the problem. This year, big movies that I've heard about, and some of them are big only because I care, but
well, I guess you could count Pacific Rim, although
Pacific Rim.
Variety is apparently claiming that there isn't a lot of interest in that, which I find kind of surprising, and yet at the same time I don't.
Yeah, because really, the problem is it seems to be it's not based in anything, and the only thing that's going for it is
Guillermo del Toro.
Yes. Gillette shaving gel.
But I would argue the other problem with it is that it hasn't been marketed very well.
No, it hasn't. You just see posters. It's not
for
a movie that's coming out soon. It's not getting pushed that much. Other movies...
Trailers are very vague about what it's about, and I haven't seen a lot of trailers.
Let's see, other than that, we have Elysium, which... Yeah.
That's being pitched as, like, hey, you remember Neil Blomkamp's big thing about racial intolerance that with aliens? Now we're going to have class warfare in space.
It kind of looks like a possible pass to the Eloy and Morlocks from the Time Machine, but you know,
you're reaching.
Yes, I am
reaching very far. There's also, of course, Pirates of the Caribbean with cowboys.
Yes, because everyone wanted to see Johnny Depp as a Native American.
And before that, there was Great Gatsby in 3D. And hip-hop.
Yes. More boring than the book. Too faithful to the book. Anyway.
Okay, I think we can get away with knocking certain superheroes. I'm not entirely sure if we can get away with knocking great American literature.
Fine. He doesn't want to knock it. I'll knock it as much as I want.
Okay. What else is coming out? This has felt like kind of a quiet year, I guess you could say.
Ender's Game.
Yes. I know nothing of the Ender's series.
And it's gonna suck. The book is not transformable into a movie.
We will have a vlog when that comes out. And
yes.
Zach can explain why it failed.
Hobbit 2.
I'm actually looking forward to that. I think that looks good.
We have Orlando Bloom and not Orlando Bloom in the same movie again.
Incidentally, I think we've gotten way off topic here.
Yes.
The point is that there hasn't been a lot of stuff not superhero related.
Right. Yes. That was the point. Thank you.
I think also movie studios are doubling down way too hard on superheroes. Like, Sony's already announced a Spider-Man 3 and 4. With the promise that Mary Jane Watson will be showing up in 3 and continuing into 4. And
does that mean we're killing off Gwen Stacy?
We've got to at some point. It's the only thing Gwen Stacy's there for.
Yes, are they going to make it? Anyway, that's off topic. And
they're rebooting X-Men in Days of Future Past, and that's all we're going to say about X-Men.
Not a reboot.
Well, but they're using this as
a way revitalizing.
Well, except they're going to recast a lot of people. And
who?
I don't know, but they promise this is going to be where they launch a new series.
Revitalizing.
Okay. Anyway, talking to cover edit. This is going to be a meta podcast. Anyway, I think part of the oversaturation and the burnout is just the fact that there appears to be no end in sight.
Yeah, especially with Marvel discussing Phase 3, as we just said.
Yeah, I feel like we need a break. We need a break of some kind.
Like with Doctor Who, we got a break.
Yes. That was for different reasons, but yes.
Yes. Well, it depends on what break you're talking about. Anyway,
Oh, I thought you meant the 16-year break.
I was more talking about the year of Specials.
Anyway, David Tennant and his specials, a topic we will definitely be discussing later. Anyway, and I feel like we either need more original projects. Pacific Rim's actually the movie I'm most excited for this year, just because it's not based on anything.
Meanwhile, what was I most excited for this year? There was something, but I forget now. Anyway, whatever it was probably sucked.
Did it come out already?
It must have. That's why I forgot about it.
Oh, and Kick-Ass 2 comes out this year, so there's 5 superhero movies.
We aren't talking about... The only good thing about Kick-Ass died in the first movie.
Nicolas Cage?
Yes.
I'm looking forward to Kick-Ass 2.
Yeah, I don't...
We now have Jim Carrey as a superhero.
No Nicolas Cage.
The point is that there's a lot of superhero stuff this year.
Not as much as some other years, but yes.
I'm not even sure if that's accurate. Like, last year was the big year because we had the Avengers, Batman, and Spider-Man, and that was only 3.
Thor.
Okay, yeah.
No, Captain America was that year.
No, that was the year before.
No, was it?
Avengers came out a year after Captain America.
Okay, was Thor before?
Okay, Thor and Captain America did come out the same year. Okay, if we chronologic size this back, we're gonna be here for weeks.
Yes.
I think we should move on to one of our 2 final topics. This, in this case, being television. Do we want more superheroes on TV instead? I personally would prefer that.
Smallville.
I was thinking more like what the Paul Dini, Bruce Timm averse gave us.
Yes, except
or Avengers.
Well, it's good. I mean,
Avengers Assemble, which is the only good Marvel-made show out right now.
Well, isn't there a Spider-Man show?
Spider-Ham, a topic to be discussed at a future date. Yes, Spider-Ham.
It's right up there on his list with the Spider-Mobile.
It's past the Spider-Mobile.
Ah.
It's like up there with...
Young Luke Cage.
And I think I'm doing like a Too Good to Last on Spectacular Spider-Man, which is the best Spider-Man cartoon.
Okay.
So there, I'll probably do like a short thing on my hatred for Ultimate Spider-Man. Anyway.
Yes, but when we're talking about the anime, I think we're going back to we're going far. We're going
something I've also been
BTA,
told about.
Batman the Animated Series, Superman, Justice League.
And here's the thing. First of all, if we're going into TV shows, there is one addendum. Stop making Batman shows. Stop it. We're done.
Batman the Animated Series was the first of the animated TV shows.
They're making a CGI Batman show.
Okay, let me get this out. Batman the Animated Series was the first of the Batman animated shows, right?
It was among the first of the superhero animated shows of that era.
And you know what? I would say it's the best anime Batman show we've had.
It's probably among the best superhero shows ever made.
Yeah, in my mind, you can actually, you can tie Batman the Animated Series to the Superman animated series to the Justice League cartoon.
Well, everything was designed to be based around that.
And that to Batman Beyond even.
Yeah.
And this is what can't anyway, it's all one great big whole and Batman Brave and the Bold. The Batman. Sorry.
I liked Batman Brave and the Bold.
Batman Brave and the Bold had some good moments,
but like here's the thing. We did Batman the Animated Series, which was like this nice little compendium of all that is Batman through the eye of Bruce Timm. They managed to take all these elements and merge them into a whole that we could see as a character. Here, let me just say this about Batman. We did Batman. We did The Batman, which was Batman through the eyes of the anime craze that was going on. We did Batman Brave and the Bold, which was a nice, campy sort of parallel to the first one. Stop! We're done. We've had 3 Batman shows in the last 20
Batman
years.
Beyond.
Batman Beyond 2, so that's 4. And then you also have him on Justice League. Stop! Stop! Do Wonder Woman. No one's ever done a Wonder Woman cartoon show. Do The Flash. Do somebody else. Please.
Do Batmite.
You can't hear it right now, but I'm giving Zach a very dirty look.
He doesn't like Batmite.
And there are a lot of heavy objects in this room. I'm taking a note of all of them.
Anyway,
but I feel like I also feel like TV in a lot of ways is better suited to adapt comic books, because comic books.
Well, it can be, but I'm gonna come out and say this: Smallville sucked.
Yes,
I've watched all of it.
Smallville sucks a lot.
It had a lot. Live action may not be the way to go. Thinking of live action superhero, we've got Arrow now, which I haven't seen, so I can't judge.
Let me say this about Arrow.
Yes.
A lot, because I do like TV reviews and stuff. I get told a lot of TV shows to watch, either for the show or like just in general. I will never watch Arrow, and it's not because I think it's a bad show, although I think it is. It's because it's not Green Arrow. It's not. I've seen the trailers. I've seen enough of the show to know this is not Green Arrow, and I'm a fan of that character. I want to see that character done properly, and I don't want this. I think that sums things up.
Yes. And the only show I think we can... Birds of Prey was good.
Yeah, Birds of Prey was good. It was silly, but it was good.
Yes. I think you need an element of silly... Another thing with the superhero movies is a lot of them are trying to be darker and more realistic.
Because Dark Knight did that and made tons of money.
But overall with superheroes, it's someone dressing up in a costume and fighting crime. There's an element of silliness inherent to the idea.
I actually think, like, okay, this is a topic we're clearly going to have to cover at another point, but I feel like, to an extent, while I know people love the Dark Knight movies, I feel like to an extent that's kind of a big problem with it, is that they were trying so hard to be so serious and realistic that I feel like it's very easy to mock. Because it's still a guy dressed up in a bat suit. I feel like you need to, at some point, address the fact that what you're making would not really work in the real world.
Right.
Batman doesn't really work in the real world. I'm sorry, people who think he's the most realistic superhero ever, but you're wrong. And
It helps when he's trained by someone called Ra's al Ghul.
Raish. Anyway. And Young Justice I hear is good. I might check it out again. I caught a few episodes and wasn't impressed, but I'm told it gets better, and it got really good. I actually heard someone say that it was better than anything the Tim Dini team-up made.
Well, I heard someone say that about Rocket Robin Hood once, so you know.
You did not.
No, I made that up just so I could bring Rocket Robin Hood into this.
Rocket Robin Hood, a character we're never discussing.
Except for right now.
Anyway. But I feel like TV... I feel like we could expand on their impact on TV. S.H.I.E.L.D. Is getting a TV show. I'm actually kind of looking forward to that.
Yes.
I don't know. This might just be moving the oversaturation from one medium to another.
But TV... But here's the thing. TV is... Movies don't... It's interesting because TV has dealt with oversaturation. There's an oversaturation of cop shows. There's oversaturations all over the place on TV, and you can just deal with it on TV. With a movie, you're stuck there with the movie for 2.5 hours.
Well, also, why I think this would work better in TV, and this is a topic that I think is going to lead into our final section, which is the topic you really want to talk about.
Not necessarily.
Is that in television, you can bring up lesser-known characters and do, like, a few episodes about them. Like, I love The Question. There is never going to be a Question movie. I love, like, Black Panther. There's probably not going to be a Black Panther movie. because he's not well known enough, and his impact is really more how he affects the Marvel Universe as a whole, not so much what villains he fights.
Right.
But in a TV show, you can have a question episode, or you can have an episode where they meet Black Panther. That's what they've done in the cartoon
That was
shows.
kind of the cool thing about Batman Brave and the Bold, that it gave a chance for these side characters to show up and team up with Batman.
Yeah, like your favorite Booster Gold.
We aren't talking about Booster... Damn you... Hold it back. Booster Gold is a goddamn cheating con artist who should never have gotten a comic book in his life.
Are you done?
Your fault.
I think we're done teasing each other now.
Yes.
But like,
I can't believe Booster Gold broke me.
But like the new Blue Beetle. New Blue Beetle's actually my favorite Blue Beetle. Sorry, Ted Kord fans. Ted Kord's cool too, but Jaime Reyes. Are you still mad?
And I don't like the new Blue Beetle.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay. You're allowed. But they also had like a Red Tornado. That is sort of what I liked about Plastic Man. Oh my God, Plastic Man is awesome. He will never appear in anything ever. Anyway, I think though that this does lead into our final segment of the night.
The origin story!
Well, I was going to say ways of fixing superhero movies, but that's a part of it. You clearly just want to talk about the origin story, so let's start with that.
The origin story seems to have to be told every time we introduce a new superhero in a movie.
Or reintroduce.
Yes. Which makes sense for the new people coming in. But even then, like in Man of Steel, the origin story takes up a good 45 minutes to an hour.
Yeah, and let's be honest here, we knew it.
Right. Now, to be fair, they added some new things, and to be fair, in this case, because of the length of the origin story, the stuff on Krypton was some of the coolest bits until the end.
Well, but something that I thought while watching the movie, and I actually am relatively okay with Man of Steel, and every time I talk about it, I feel a little less...
Well, we're staying away from Pa Kent in this case, so...
Oh, God, that...
No.
That pissed me off.
Sorry.
Anyway, my point is, like, Superman Birthright is, in my opinion, the best origin retelling of Superman.
Yes.
I'm not sure if you read that one.
I think we thought that's the one where Lex Luthor pretends to be a Kryptonian invasion.
Yes.
That one's very well done.
Yeah.
Superman doesn't know who he... It's very well done. You should read it.
But something you'll notice, no teenage Superman, no little kid Superman. It's all just, like, about him as a young adult finding himself. That would have been a much better movie.
With proper adoptive parents.
You can imply a lot about Superman's childhood without actually having to go into it, I think.
Right.
And I feel like it's stronger when you do that.
Hell, Smallville is a 10-season-long origin story.
Yeah, and there's also Superman Man for All Seasons. Or is that Superman for All Seasons? I can never remember if they played that pun in the title. But that's just about, like, Superman's first year as Superman. And it's told, like, all... The clever thing about that is that's told through the perspective of, like, the four people closest to Superman.
While it's an Elseworld story, and totally different, Superman Red Sun also...
Yeah, they're never going to do that.
I know, but I'm just saying, the way that it does its origin story, I like that. Even though it's a completely different...
What we're saying, I think, is we can do the origin story without doing the origin story.
Like, even movie-wise, for example, The Incredible Hulk with Edward Norton.
Well, that one didn't really do the origin story.
In the intro, it showed a kind of origin story, in a way.
That doesn't count. Based on that, Spider-Man 2 did the origin story.
Yeah, it did.
It was a credit sequence. It was like a previously on Spider-Man, and now here's the movie.
Yes.
That's not doing the origin story.
It's giving you the information you need about the origin.
I feel like, like Spider-Man. Amazing Spider-Man redid the origin story, and I'm kind of split on my feelings on that movie. I think it did enough really well that I can overlook the fact that it's a really broken movie when you get right down to it. But something that I feel like you don't need to do the origin story with Spider-Man again. We know the origin story for Spider-Man.
Except what about the people who didn't see those movies?
They still know it.
No, not necessarily. You're coming at it from a geek perspective, but some people don't know how these people originated.
I feel like radioactive spider bite is so ingrained in our culture. It gets brought up so much around superheroes that I feel like people know it. I feel like there's no point in redoing the.
But here's the other thing about it. It's weird that we associate this with superheroes when we have a lot of other movies where we're introduced to people, and throughout the movie we just learn about their background. We don't need to learn their background through an origin story. This is my problem with the origin story. You have a bunch of, because it's a superhero, we have to have an origin story, but with other characters, we can learn about them throughout. We don't need an origin story.
We don't learn Luke's origin story really until episode 5.
Luke? Yeah.
Skywalker.
Right, we don't really learn who is...
We don't learn where he came from until episode 5, arguably really until the prequels, although that's Star Wars, a topic we'll talk about at a later date.
Studios someone seems to think that with superheroes we need the origin story, when with other characters they don't feel that because they aren't a superhero.
Well, to an extent, I guess because superheroes are supposed to be in the real world but not, you kind of need, I guess people feel like you need to explain the fantastical element. And to an extent they're right, but I feel like it's overdone. Mm. Yeah, something to note here. During the old days, one of the movies that revived superheroes was Batman. They didn't give you the origin story in the original Batman. They discuss it later on, but it's not the origin story. They start off with him as Batman.
We keep changing actors, and we don't get a origin story each time we get a new actor.
I think though the real point is there needs to be a reason to redo the origin story. You could make an argument that Man of Steel brought in plot points with their new origin story that wasn't brought up in
Fair enough.
previous Superman.
Well, but it depends on where you're going with that origin story, because everything on Krypton was kind of cool, but everything in Kansas was kind of, who cares?
Yeah. But also, like, again, Amazing Spider-Man, there really wasn't a need to redo the origin story because you're not bringing in any real new information with this. Except maybe the disappearance of Peter's parents, which, let's face it, you could have easily done in the next movie, given that you didn't do anything with it here.
It's set up. It's like how we set up the Lizard in the first 3 Spider-Man movies.
And then have him be very vaguely defined in the movie that has nothing to do with them.
Yes.
Yeah, fuck this. Anyway, but I feel like to an extent there are superheroes where you don't, even if no one knows about them, you don't really need the origin story. Luke Cage, for instance, you don't need to know where he got his powers. He's a guy with superpowers.
Right. Or, we don't, and I know we don't really get an origin story for Blade. He gets described.
Yeah.
He just kind of is, I know we're iffy on him being a superhero, but...
You know who really didn't need an origin story and got one anyway?
Ghost Rider?
No, Ghost Rider kind of needed one.
Okay.
Jonah Hex.
Oh, fuck that movie.
Jonah Hex
Just fuck that movie.
Jonah Hex is just a bounty hunter. You don't need to know where he got his scars.
Or the fact that he apparently has supernatural powers.
Yeah, but like even if he did, you could just have him walk on and he's just this guy who does this stuff. And you develop his character.
But like another story that's setting up to have, we're having the Lone Ranger with an origin story now.
Yeah, like, really? You can't just do the Lone Ranger?
Yeah.
Like, do you think people aren't going to get the Lone Ranger?
To be fair, I actually thought the origin story worked in the Mask of Zorro, whatever that...
Well, except that's not even really an origin story. That's like a passing of the torch.
Well, that's a passing of the torch because we had the original Zorro, right.
Yeah, that's like, okay,
That's like Anyway, sorry, that's totally off of what
Yeah,
we're talking
really,
about.
what that was like that was an acknowledgement of the previous movies and saying like, here's that Zorro teaching our new Zorro so that we don't fuck things up.
Right.
Or if we do, then we say like, look, that's not the same guy.
Okay.
Which is actually a pretty clever idea that they then ruined in the later movie.
Yes, which we don't talk about.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess other stuff to talk about, expanding the roster. I feel like we've been retelling the same superheroes over and over again, and I feel like Doctor Strange would make a very good superhero movie. Because first of all, we don't get a lot of magic superheroes, actually, now that I think about it. We have Thor, and that's about it.
Thor. Yeah.
Pretty much, that's about it, isn't it?
And he's not really magic as much as he's...
Maybe Blade, I guess, sort of?
No, because he's vampire?
Yeah, but even then, he doesn't use magic to fight vampires.
Thor doesn't really fight with magic either. Loki's more magic than Thor is, and he's a hero.
Thor has a magic hammer. It's described as a magic hammer.
Well, the hammer's magic. Thor's not magic.
He controls lightning.
With the hammer.
Okay, fine, but he's using the hammer.
Well, that's like saying if I pick up an electrical socket, I'm electrical.
Also, Thor's a god.
Technicality. Fair enough.
Maybe Hellboy, I guess.
Because he's part demon, yeah.
And they use magic spells and stuff.
What?
In Hellboy, they used magic spells, so I guess maybe Hellboy.
Yeah.
Okay, so 2 and maybe Blade. Probably not Blade.
I wish I could think of more who've had movies, but you know.
Yeah, and there are a lot of good ones. Dr. Fate.
He definitely needs other people because of he's kind of bland.
Well, and he's too powerful.
Yeah.
And I think he's too cosmic, if that makes sense. Like it's sort of like making a movie about Cthulhu from the perspective of Cthulhu.
Does the power cosmic count as magic? Silver Surfer.
No, not really.
Okay.
He's an alien and he uses alien powers.
Okay.
But like there are a lot of superheroes you can bring up. The Question I mentioned, even though it will never happen, would make a really good superhero movie.
Yes.
Black Panther, I do think, needs to stick to TV or appear in the Avengers just as.
You could probably make a decent Flash movie.
Oh yeah, very easily.
They
never will because it's made by DC and Warner Brothers, and they don't know how to do anyone who's not Batman
or Superman. What?
Okay, you're the one who said it.
They don't
you mean the older
yes.
Superman? Okay.
Mainly Superman 1 and 2 is screwed up as they are. They're still.
Yeah, Superman 2, I would actually argue, is the best Superman movie. I know a lot of people say 1, but I like...
1 has... you know what? If we're going to go with the Donner cut, is it good?
Okay, except for the ending.
Yes.
Where it's where the original Superman 2 ending's stupid, it's not as stupid as the Richard Donner ending.
Yes, fair
enough. For those of you who don't know, go see it.
Yes.
But what they did with Marlon Brando, the Richard Donner cut is very good. But I do feel like also just feeling that you're getting characters that we don't know as well will also help refresh it a bit.
Like with the Avengers, they brought Hawkeye into it.
Yeah. Granted, he had barely and nothing to do with it.
Yeah, but, you know, he was there. Black Widow was there. Again, I don't count Black Widow as a superhero, but...
Well, she's part of S.H.I.E.L.D.
Yeah.
Which like, they're in a superhero universe.
Yeah.
I don't know, it's complicated.
Yes.
That's actually why I'm looking forward to the S.H.I.E.L.D. TV show, because I want to see, like, stuff that I know they don't have time to do in the movies just work its way into the cinematic universe.
Yes. This is so what S.H.I.E.L.D. does on a day.
Yeah. Also, it's written by Joss Whedon, so
Yes, he loves Joss Whedon.
because Joss Whedon is God.
Yes, he has done some good stuff.
He is the anti-Abrams.
Yes, he's done some good stuff.
Okay.
I don't like all of his stuff.
All right, Joss Whedon, a topic to be discussed at a future date.
I'll just come out and say I don't like Firefly.
And now we're dead. Well, it was nice being on this show.
Not dead. I'm dead. You're fine.
I'm gonna have to protect you now.
Why?
'Cause Firefly, a topic to be discussed at a future date.
Okay then.
Anyway, I feel like also we're too continuity heavy. Like that's why the Marvel movies are going on for as long as they can.
Yeah, because they're establishing kind of. Admittedly, that's what happened with the DC anime universe for the longest time.
Yeah, but again, that was TV, so
right.
I think that worked out well. And
with movies, here's the problem with promising continuity. You're keeping on making movies coming out every. It's complicated.
Also, then you have the problem of now you have the Iron Man 3 thing where they want to expand the character, but everything they do is going to affect future movies, so there are limits on what they can do.
Right.
Like, to an extent, this is what wrecked comic books, or is wreaking havoc on comic books, is that characters get sort of locked in these positions that they can't leave, because then everyone else goes but we need him to do that.
Right.
Which leads to One More Day, which leads to me wanting to hurt small children.
One More Day, a discussion we've already promised with Casada, but will be discussed at a later point.
So we're approaching the end today, and what have we learned?
Well, I think we've learned that it's very hard for us to stay on topic.
We've learned it's very hard for us to stay on topic. We've learned that Zach is going to get numerous death threats.
Oh, come on. One tiny show.
We've learned
that, well, we've expanded on what we stated, that superhero movies could be getting oversaturated, and that possibly a switch to TV would be good.
Yeah, I think that's kind of where we're at right now, is we want superheroes to move to something else.
Yes. Step away from movies. Let movies, I guess, go back to stealing from books.
And incidentally, tell us what you think.
Yes.
Do you think superheroes are oversaturated? Are you excited for more stuff? Do you feel like there needs to be a change? Let us know.
Yes.
All right.
Well, let him know, because apparently I'm going into hiding.
All right. So until next time, I am Dapper Dave.
And I'm Zach.
And now we will exit the wormhole, I guess. Is that our sign-off?